Thank you very much for this very kind introduction. And I think it's also from my side, happy birthday, DLD. I think in the last 20 years, you were really bringing new ideas to Germany. You were challenging, you were always giving a preview into the future. And it's maybe one of the greatest platforms and networks, and it's unique. Thank you very much and happy birthday. Alessia already set the tone of our panel that we are going to discuss in a few minutes. How can we accelerate and how can we really get the challenges in order to get back to growth in Germany and in Europe? I would like to give you one number. The World Bank is predicting that in 5 years from now, 70% of GDP growth will be influenced by digital ecosystems or digital platforms. 70%. In Germany, we are today below 20, and in Europe, we are below 30%. So that gives you an indication that clearly there's a way how we need to leapfrog in order to get there. But on the other side, it has never been so easy to start digitalization, because the mistakes that have been made by companies and governments 10 years ago, we don't need to make anymore. We have end-to-end cloud solutions. We have AI solutions. We have the best networks in Germany and Europe that we ever had. So in order to start and to leapfrog, it's never too late. And I think also with the theme of this year's DLD, Future Positive, I think to see these opportunities, to seize these opportunities, this is clearly our task. If we look forward, I think, why do we stand where we stand today? Clearly, it's not news to you that Germany and especially Europe is not an adoption or is not a front runner of new technologies. The digitalization or the data in cloud in Germany is below 10%. 10% also says a lot, that 10% at the end of the day, we are more watching, looking what others are doing before we really jump. But once we reach the tipping point, we also in Europe can adapt and use new technologies very quickly. What should we do concrete from my perspective? And I think the stars are aligning now, because we see on the one side with the Draghi report, where the new European Commission will build on, that we have an investment gap that we need to overcome, that we need a new data protection environment in Europe that allows us to clearly use anonymous data, that it's not forbidden to save data and use data. We are not talking about personal data, but we need to use anonymous and industrial data without any limitations in order to leapfrog. And finally, I think after the elections, not only me, the whole industry is clearly looking for, we need a digital ministry in Germany that brings together all the loose ends, that consolidates all the IT and digitalization islands that we have today, because digitalization does not end at the responsibilities of some ministries. We need an end-to-end solution. If you look at countries like India or Estonia or other countries in Europe, we need one German cloud, and we finally need the German digital ID, so the passport on your smartphone. That would clearly be a key enabler in order to bring us forward. We also we talk about a lot of reducing bureaucracy, but bureaucracy reduction starts first, that we need to go for digital only. Yes, we need to be very clear and very brave here. We cannot run legacy systems and new systems in parallel. Digital first is the way also other countries really were able to leapfrog from today's perspective where we stand. And we have the technologies now aware in order to really leapfrog from this perspective. To finalize and to conclude from my perspective, I think it has never been so easy to leapfrog and to become at the forefront what we want to achieve. And it's now really up to the European Commission, the new European Commission, but also to all of us here in the room. What can we do? What do we contribute in order to get Germany back to growth? We need GDP growth in Germany, not only in the telco and IT industry, we need it everywhere. But clearly, we need a new mindset. And with the mindset, it starts everything. As said, the technologies are where we have nationwide 5G networks today that are not used from a capability perspective. We could run completely fully automized industrial facilities. We could have all that data in our cloud today. We could really leverage, and that's the basis also to benefit from artificial intelligence, to get this going. So from my perspective, the future is positive. If we look to 2030 and if we want to comply with the 70% of digital GDP influenced growth, I think the biggest potential here sits in Germany. We just need to start with the right mindsets, and we will get there. Because as said, we will not make the mistakes others have made if we not start now and get the right sense of urgency. We have the best still in front of us. As said, I'm more positive in these days, and if we leverage all what I've currently said, the best will come very soon, and we have it still in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Markus Haas, for the keynote. And we're in the middle of a discussion, or we're going to go into a discussion that's quite logical after longevity and AI. We are going to discuss the path for Germany's economy, but also we're looking at the state of Germany a month before the federal elections. I'm very happy about an exciting panel that's going to be here with us, and we're going to discuss this from a business standpoint as well as from a politics standpoint. And Markus Haas is already on the panel. Welcome again. Great to have you. Wonderful.
Hi, Gordon.
Then I'm very happy to announce Marie Langer. And nothing could stop us on this panel. No trains, no Berlin airports, and no personal injuries. A special applause for Marie Langer, who's the CEO of EOS, and who's going to discuss with us. From the politics side, I'm going to announce Dorothee Bär, who's the deputy chairwoman of the CDU-CSU Parliamentary Group. Welcome, Dorothee Bär. And last but not least, Danyal Bayaz, who is the finance minister of the state of Baden-Württemberg. Welcome, Danyal Bayaz. So we do have a couple of topics and challenges to discuss today. When we talk about competitiveness in Germany, we all are probably pretty aligned in the analysis that we could do a little better in Germany on the business side, and some challenges and changes might be ahead of us after the elections. We are coming out of the second year where we had negative growth in Germany, and I think it's time to discuss how to improve that. I want to start with you, Dorothee Bär, who could look at the situation, halfway from an external perspective, being an opposition politician, but who might be taking over responsibility very soon. So what's your analysis on what really need to be done maybe in the first 100 days to improve the situation in Germany?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, even in opposition. That's very kind. Well, I could start now telling you what went wrong the last 3 years. I won't do that because we are limited in time. I don't have the time, Daniel. And yeah, I know. But I think the most important thing is for the last 37 days till the 23rd of February that everyone is fighting for their own programs. I think that's very important too. But afterwards, we have to have analysis. What do we really need? So for us, it's first of all economy. And then, of course, security, migration, those are our big topics. And then talking about what Markus Haas already said, what's the most important thing besides having a new ministry or whatever, but fighting bureaucracy is one of the most important things. So I'm not only member of the German Bundestag, the most important thing is I'm the ambassador of German bread at the moment. And so I'm really all over our bakeries in all of Germany, and not only the bakeries or the small and medium enterprises, everyone complains, and they are really, it's 12:05, so bureaucracy is one of the biggest things. And yeah, I think we have to start with that and then cut taxes and make energy cheaper and everything besides that. But bureaucracy really kills innovation at the moment.
All that might sound a little horrible to Danyal Bayaz, make energy cheaper, kill bureaucracy. I'm a bit provocative in that point, because those are obviously the points where many people are pointing to the Green Party and say, you are the ones who have made things more complicated. What would you reply?
I mean, first of all, I think the times are too serious to point with fingers at each other, because we're going to get out of this mess only together. And let's have a look at the economic situation. Germany is not facing growth since 2018. We had a peace dividend because we weren't involved in any conflicts in the world. We had a globalization dividend because successful states like Bavaria or the state of Baden-Württemberg were selling cars all over the place. And we kind of leaned back and we thought we had a successful business model. And this business model has been shocked by the crisis, by the economic events, by war, by a pandemic and so on with the last few years. And the question is, how is a country that has been dominating the technologies of the 20th century will be dominating technologies of the 21st century? I think this is the main question. And you can, I mean, I don't want to get over this, but of course it's important to understand what's happening with Volkswagen, what's happening with ThyssenKrupp and so on. But I think the music especially is in future economic, technological fields, quantum technologies, AI, green tech, biotech. If we want to compete on a global scale, and Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria, we are not competing with Schleswig-Holstein or Denmark, but we are competing on a global scale with Shenzhen or California, so to say. I think we really have to become stronger in these more technological fields, to invest in R&D. And I put my signature under that, what Dorothee Bär said, less bureaucracy. Energy, it has been a topic. We have lowered the energy prices by now, but let's face the truth. Germany will never be a very low-cost energy country. It never has been and it never will be. So assuming that we will compete on steel, and this is our business model for the future, for example, which is highly energy intense, I think this is not the way going forward, but really dominating technologies of the 21st century. I think we have all the skills that we need, scientific and research advantages, highly innovative companies, from startups to big companies. And I think politics is not doing so bad. I think we have a lot of homework to do, but if we stick together, I imagine we will manage this. And I agree with Mr. Haas said, we still have the best is yet to come.
I want to take your aspect of Shenzhen and the challenges that we are facing with emerging economies, particularly China, obviously. Marie Langer and I met on a trip to China with the Chancellor earlier last year, and the focus was very much on the challenges of the car industry, obviously, during that trip. But you are facing your own challenges when it comes to China in manufacturing. But I think it's pretty significant, and it tells quite a story about what needs to happen. So what was maybe your essence of the trip, and what is your answer on the challenges that you are facing with emerging economies like China?
So I think it was said right now that we had a very well-functioning business model that now is under attack. And due to many reasons. For example, when we talk about our own technology as a highly innovative one, industrial 3D printing, China and also the US have very solid, strong focus and strategy from an industry perspective to support these technologies and to make sure that they thrive and they dominate that market. And so the e-mobility that we see now and cars coming from China, we also experience it, of course, on small levels in our technology, as we're not that big as the car industry yet. But we see the same tendencies. And China is quite good, we can like it or not, but in being very clear how to develop their own economy. The US is very clear. in how to make sure we know it, like made in the US, America first. We can now, from a philosophical point of view or mindset point of view, like it or not. But this is something that we're dealing with. And so in Europe, we need to find ways to be, first of all, super specific in supporting innovative technology, especially areas were said in other areas, but now looking at my domain, manufacturing technology, because that was always a backbone of our country here in Germany. And there are so many. We have Trump, we have US, we have SLM. There are like 3 players in the 3D printing area that are super strong. There can be really done way more to really make sure how do we, for example, in the defense area, we can, again, like it or not, there's so much to gain. The US is putting so much money into highly innovative technologies for industries like defense. We know we need to be able to defend ourselves. So why don't we make sure that we also connect that with really developing highly innovative technologies? We can also look at medicine, of course. We can look at space, SpaceX, Blue Origin, all these companies in the US who really very well equipped and now try to enter Europe. So what we really need to do is having our own strategy to maybe, yes, be more protective. And I love the global idea of working together, but it doesn't seem to work. And it doesn't seem to work with players that we're facing right now. So that's why I think we really need to be aware that Chinese companies are selling in super certified markets in Germany their technology. And the companies don't care because they have so much price pressure in this recession that they go for lower cost. They don't go for higher quality, and they risk that their IP is going to China because we're not supporting and protecting our own markets. And that, I think, is really something we have to do. And by the way, on the travel, the Green Party was supporting that, making sure that if China wants to sell here, we also need to be able to sell there, or at least they need to understand that then we also will regulate these markets more. So I really feel that there has been a lot of problems the last years, but also good contributions, and now also on the political side, we just need to make sure to all work together to get this done.
Those are the challenges. Those are the challenges in manufacturing that we've discussed in largely last year, and we will continue to do so. But there's a level of maybe lacking innovation or lacking infrastructure that is also quite significant. You have talked about it, which is digitalization, and the question: how can we, as Germany, go back to the front of the innovation in that sector? What would be your expectation, or maybe also what makes you optimistic that we will go back to the top position?
Well, first of all, we have all what we need. It's not that we lack resources. I think we need to be bolder, because we have now this example with the elektronische Gesundheitsakte, so with the new health data platform that's been built. It's not perfect, but at least you need to get things started. And once you start, you can implement it. And I think this try and error we need, because it's not like in the 50s where you build a car and it's super perfect and you never need to go to the facilities and maintenance anymore. We are in a new world. I think we need to develop things, and then things get started. Momentum builds momentum. And I think we are, as I said, we are not the front runners in adopting new technologies in Europe, and especially not in Germany. But I think that's the way. We will not turn back the clock. The world is getting digital. Things will be, in 10 years, all data will be in the cloud, and we can now still wait and look if there's a better or a safer solution. But if we don't get things started, it will not happen. And yes, there might also go things wrong. We will see backdrops, but this is what every country sees. Do we believe that the Indian cloud was perfect from the first day, or in Estonia? No, they also had issues and problems. It's a bumpy road, but we need to start in the mindset to get things going. And this is the only way to get rid of the bureaucracy, is that we really go digital only, and then you will find solution that it's getting simpler. And this is why is not 50% of the success will be mindset.
I think that's a wonderful point that I would like to hand over to Dorothee Bär. The mindset also means, I guess, after the elections and when a new government comes in, I think you might agree that we need a mindset that is open for reform and open to change things and maybe not be scared of an immediate debate that might follow, but still really stick to what's important and what needs to be done. What's your take on that? Do you think the politics can get back to the stage of being courageous in what needs to be done?
I think we have to, because otherwise you just have to take the view over to Austria. What happens if you don't do it, if you don't address all of the elephants in the building, in the room? And I'm really grateful what Markus Haas said, just do it. So of course the EPA will not be perfect at the beginning, but the fear our people are having, oh, I don't trust my government. I'd rather put all my data on some American companies. I trust them way more than my German government. And when we had the so-called Corona Warn app, so I was in charge back then, as one of the players in the government back then, it was really a big discussion. What are they doing with my data? And is it really only for the warning in the Corona app? And so I think it's important to just begin. I like the American sentence, do it now, say sorry later. And maybe we have too many people who studied law in the government or in the parliaments. Sorry for all of you who did that. I just married someone. So I think we really have to do it quicker, faster, and then I'm sure we can do that. And I'm sitting next to a party in the government who really wants to go back in the 40s of the last century. And that's why I think it's so important that our country is working, that it's running, that we are having the growth, that we are having success, because otherwise now it's not the problem 2025, but 2029 will be a bigger problem otherwise.
I want to ask a question that surely is not your favorite question, but I have to ask it, because if we are thinking about working together, Danyal Bayaz, I take your statement of saying we need to get things done together. Why do politicians, maybe also in Bavaria, waste so much time on discussing what coalition is not possible in a situation where maybe even if there are significant differences, those positions need to be overcome?
And why is it for journalists the most important question?
Because it answers what kind of government will face the challenges that we've been discussing.
I don't think so. I have to really disagree, because the most important thing, first of all, is that we are all fighting for our programs, and no one in my party or in our CDU-CSU committee in the parliament wanted to be in opposition, but I think we adopted the opposition quite well, and it was good for us. I'm a very positive person. It was very good for us because we could make clear over the last 3 years what would we do with a 100% CDU-CSU program. And in my constituency, for example, I'm not asked every day, who are you going with? And the election starts on February 8th or 9th, when you are allowed to go voting the last 2 weeks before the election takes place. And then it depends of all of you. Who are you going to vote for? And then later on. So the only thing we said is none of our parties will ever do a coalition with the far right, and not with the other far right on the left, BSW on a national level. But the other things for us in Bavaria are quite clear. Of course, we talked with each other. So Danyal and I, we were together in parliament, and I can admit that we like each other and we are discussing with each other. But at the moment, from the experience over the last 3 years, my party leader said, not with those Greens at the moment. The party leader of our sister party says it in a different way, but that after an election, everyone has to sit together and talk to each other is the one thing, but I think you can say who you prefer and who do you not prefer.
Absolutely, but I'm asking this to you too, because you are younger generation politicians.
Thank you so much.
Who are no, but I mean, let's face this. Who also create a new culture, maybe of collaboration, and this is also a point of our idea. Danyal Bayaz, if you would create a sort of 100-day program and immediate measurements that would need to be done, what would be maybe the 2 or 3 major points?
Let me be honest on this one. I've been now in office for 3 years on an executive job, and I got rid of these 100-day programs because the first 100 days I wanted to kind of survive and understand what my job is, because you're raising the bar, and if politics is raising the bar each time, we will not succeed. But because this is something that Wolfgang Schäuble, who has passed away a year ago and who I admire a lot, has said, politics is not. Let me quote it in German, or better called in Badisch. Ja? He said, Politik ist nicht was für Schnäppchenjäger, wo Parteien was anbieten und Leute springen halt dahin, wo gibt's am meisten Versprechen für die ersten 100 Tage. But you go there where really people are being drawn into responsibility, because we need all of you with this. Politics won't solve it. Politics won't solve it all on its own, so we have to form the guidelines, but we need, of course, the power of companies, of the civil society, civil societies, and so on. But to answer your question, as I mentioned, I think we have an economic crisis, we have a structural crisis. Germany has all the tools on the table. We are still a very successful country, right? And still, I think we need to work on our business model. So a big reform package when it comes to social security, on taxes, on work incentives, R&D and new technologies. And we have mentioned this earlier, I think we have to innovate our government and our administration from the inside. So I'm the boss, so to say. I'm the boss, so to say, of a tax administration, 20,000 people. A third of them will retire in the next 8 years. This is basically the day after tomorrow. So we will only catch up if we use more AI, more automation, if we use more data. And not only in the tax administration, but also in the healthcare system. In Heidelberg, my hometown, there is the Deutsche Krebsforschungszentrum, German Center of Cancer Research. Brilliant researchers, but they are saying we are being hindered by German data protection, but we want to fight cancer. Yeah? I mean, this is the next moonshot of tomorrow. So if you want to keep up with the speed out there in the world, and Maria's pointed out that correctly, I think we need to innovate the government from the inside, and this starts with the culture of trial and error, because our current culture, and actually we as politicians, we are not so. We are doing it, unfortunately, the very same way. We're having a negative way of trial and error. If you make an error, the first question somebody asks in Germany, whose fault is it? Whose head need to be cut off? Rather than asking, how do we fix it? How do we do it better tomorrow? And I think we can learn from each other. And let me finish up with one quote. As I mentioned, I'm from the city of Heidelberg. The philosopher Gadamer once said, a good conversation, ein gutes Gespräch beginnt mit der Annahme, dass der andere Recht haben könnte. And if this would be like the political style, I think we would be way further in achieving these goals.
This is almost a wonderful finishing work. We need to stop in a few minutes because Dorothee Bär needs to jump on a train, and we will respect that. So very, very short questions to you, Marie Langer, and to you, Markus Haas. I would be interested if your expectation or your assumption would be that politics could deliver better policies with a Ministry for Digital Affairs that we only had halfway this time, and Markus Haas, also maybe your question, what your expectation would be for politics, for the new government, for the first steps that need to be taken. We need really a short answer because otherwise Dorothee Bär need to jump off stage before.
Okay, so to be really quick, of course, digitization is something super important, so there need to be competent people taking care of that, also on the government. But my wish would be, and I touched base on that very early on, and it fits very well to what you just said. Like, let's not focus on who did what and why and whatever. We have, like, it's really, yes, there's a lot of opportunities going forward, but we really have to get the next one right. We know this in our businesses, and we know it for politics. So now it's really about collaborating. It's not about who gets voted, who gets the most votes. It's just about, let's make sure that these populists out there don't get it. Whoever else, I don't care, but then let's do the job.
And Markus Haas, your final word for a wish maybe for the next government.
Well, a big lighthouse could be that we all get a digital ID by the end of the year. I think the industry has worked very close, but we never really did it because there have still been concerns, because everybody would see, everybody who gets a digital ID, that something is really happening in the country, and we really mean it serious, that we want to bring the country to the next level.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you. I want to say this has not been a discussion that could cover all the aspects that would need to be discussed, but rather it is a starting point for discussions that maybe you all can continue now. I thank you so much for coming here on tight chain schedules, Dorothee Bär. I thank you, Danyal Bayaz, Marie Langer, and Markus Haas for a discussion that I think had some optimism in it, and the idea of bringing together things that maybe need to be brought together to tackle the challenges that are ahead of us. Thank you so much for listening, and hope to discuss very soon.